Joining us live from Washington, D.C. is the U.S. State Department's Principal Deputy Spokesperson, Tommy Piggott. Good to have you with us, sir. Let's start with the President's remarks yesterday. What should we take as his key message at this point in the conflict?
Well, fundamentally, what we saw yesterday was a powerful speech from President Trump that outlined how we got here, the rationale, the clear objectives of Operation Epic Fury, and the path forward. Those objectives being crystal clear from this president, going back, honestly, to the beginning of this administration, when underlying all of this is the reality that the Iranian regime cannot have a nuclear weapon. I think importantly as well, the president, of course, always wanted to see that option for diplomacy. But as he made clear in that speech, the option for diplomacy was given before Operation Midnight Hammer, was given after Operation Midnight Hammer, and yet we saw that pursuit of a nuclear weapon by the Iranian regime. That is an intolerable threat to the United States and to the world.
So the president said the war will end in 2 to 3 weeks. Are you confident that we're now looking at a matter of weeks rather than months?
Well, both the president and the secretary have indicated that. Again, the president outlining those clear objectives. We've seen the destruction of their Air Force, the destruction of their Navy, the destruction of their missile capability. Again, underlying all of this is the fact that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. So the president, again, outlining those clear objectives and, again, making clear that he will see those objectives fulfilled.
Are you, sir, seeing any concrete indications that Iran is prepared to engage in talks?
Well, I'm not going to get into the details of sensitive diplomatic conversations, but again, to stress, the president always prefers diplomacy. That's why the argument and the how we got here was so important from the president's speech yesterday, describing how he pursued diplomacy before Operation Midnight Hammer. Then we saw Operation Midnight Hammer, and the door for diplomacy was opened yet again. And yet we saw the Iranian regime continue in that pursuit of a nuclear weapon, an intolerable threat, as I said, to the United States and to the world. So the president is always open to diplomacy, but he's also been clear we will see his objectives be fulfilled here.
So we've seen U.S. personnel movements and evacuations across the Gulf region. Can you tell us something of how the U.S. has been managing that, both for its own citizens and in coordination with partners?
Well, first, I want to take this opportunity to echo the president and thank our allies and partners across the region in their assistance as we sought to assist Americans in the region. From the State Department's perspective, we set up a 24/7 task force in order to provide consular assistance to Americans who were in the region that were looking to come home. So again, I want to echo the president in thanking our allies and our partners. If Americans are watching this program and are looking for assistance, please reach out to the State Department. We're here to help. We're here to provide that assistance. We're here to help you get home should you want to come home.
As the conflict widens with developments in Lebanon and now with the Houthis in Yemen, what diplomatic efforts are underway to prevent further escalation?
Well, look, I think the broader context here is incredibly important, and that's the maximum pressure policy that President Trump has had from the beginning of this administration, even in his previous administration, and that included terrorist proxies, terrorist groups across the region. Sanctions and other restrictions designed to deny them the funds necessary to continue their malign activities. We've seen that from the beginning of this administration. We've seen those efforts continue. So that's the important context here. The emphasis the president has put on stopping the financing, stopping the ability of terrorist proxies to destabilize the region, to stop their malign activities.
Have there been direct or indirect contacts with regional actors, including in Lebanon and Yemen, aimed at de-escalation?
Well, what I can say here is we've seen engagement from the highest levels of this administration across the region. Experienced personnel talking with partners, talking with the parties involved. Even going back to the beginning of this administration with the president himself going to the region to cement the partnership we have with so many countries there. So I'm not going to get, like I said, into the details of sensitive diplomatic conversations, but rest assured that we see diplomatic engagement at the highest levels of this administration, across this administration, with our partners in the region, with the parties involved here, to pursue our interests, to work with them, and to see what can happen here.
What would you say to anybody in the region right now worried at the prospect of this conflict doing the exact opposite of de-escalating and getting worse?
Well, what I can say here again is to echo the president describing how we are close to completing our objectives, the destruction of the Air Force, the destruction of the Navy, the destruction of Iran's missile capabilities. I think what we've also seen important context here is the indiscriminate targeting by the Iranian regime of civilians and civilian infrastructure that underscores what President Trump has been saying, the intolerable threat of that Iranian regime having a nuclear weapon. The Iranian regime's own actions prove that. So the president, again, outlining those clear objectives and the clear path forward here in that speech last night.
Good to talk to you, sir. Many thanks indeed for being with us. Tommy Piggott there, the US State Department's Principal Deputy Spokesperson.